All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. That's what everybody always says, so that's what I'm saying. They always say what they've been doing off camera, so 99.9% of my life has been off camera. That's gotten me to this point. My oldest son told me that he wanted a shop-made humidor for Christmas. There are about 14 days between now and Christmas, and I told him there's no possible way I could get it done that quick. So stick with me and let's go make a humidor. I'm getting ready to rough cut this out. I found a piece of cherry that I'm going to use. I didn't have any walnut that was dry enough. So this cherry has been inside for 2 years maybe, so hoping it'll do. It's a little warped. I'm going to have to work it over, but looking at about 8.5 by 10.5 on the box itself, probably about 4.5 inches high when it's all over. But I've got some spots picked out on this cherry, and I'm going to rough cut it, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, that's got the pieces I'm going to use roughed out. Now I need to get a straight edge on one side so I can run it through the joiner and planer and get everything good and true and square. Everything's still way oversized right now. I'm going to try to do a continuous grain all the way around the box and then a book match on the lid. So never done any of this before. We'll see how it turns out. All right, that's got one straight line edge on one side of each of the roughs. We'll clean some of this mess up and we'll see, try to figure out what to do next. Okay, I only have a 6-inch joiner. So I think my best bet's gonna be to rip these down just like they are to about 5.5 inches, because I only need 4.5. So I'm gonna rip them to 5.5. Then I can joint the edge and the side and go from there, and hopefully that'll keep things square. Stay tuned. Okay, now I'm going to get my planer out and do that dance with the power and dust collection and be right back. Okay, two things. First of all, I just realized that I did not reinstall my riving knife on my table saw, so feel free to roast me about that. And as warped as that stuff was, I'm surprised it didn't throw it back at me. Number two, that cardboard box is the helical cutter head that I bought over a year ago for this planer. Still hadn't put it in yet. I'll get to that one of these days. I'm gonna run these through and we'll see if we can get them parallel on both sides. Okay, you see that little jump there at the end? That thing with the dust collector generates so much static electricity that even getting close to it, you can feel the hair on your arm stand up. And I got a little too close to the screw that holds it together and it shocked the crap out of me. So now we've got two sides parallel. We got one edge good and straight. Run them back through the table saw to get everything good and square. Okay, everything's good and square, true, 90 degrees all the way around. Now I'm going to get the bandsaw out and we'll try to resaw these down the middle so that I can do the continuous grain wrap and the book match for the top. Never done this before either. Hang in there with me. Next problem. I am oversized on everything to about 5 1/4. Finished width, I'm shooting for about 4 1/2. Was going to try to leave it this way, but my bandsaw will not accept 5 1/4. So I'm going to have to get it down just under 5 and hope this thing's got enough power to resaw this cherry. So I'm going to cut some off of it and we'll try it in just a second. Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. I've got a center line marked on here just to try to see where I'm at. I think I've got everything set up right. Now I've got these cut down so that they will clear. I don't know if this little bandsaw is gonna cut this 5-inch cherry or not. This may take a while. I don't know, we'll see. All right, that went about as expected. Not very well. I don't know. But what I do know is that I had a fence set up and it started and it wasn't working too good. So I put a feather board on there to try to help. That just made things worse. I took the feather board off back to just the fence. It started tracking way off the line. I caught it pretty quick, but it's still not good. Got the fence out of the way so I could move the the board as I needed to. Got it kind of back on track. It's I don't know how well the continuous grain is going to go, because I'm going to have to take it down considerably. Like I say, it's the first time I've tried this, so I've done a whole lot to it so far. I think I'll probably go ahead and set the joiner back up and get, or sorry, the planer back up and get them back to flat. And then that's a whole lot of fresh wood exposed. So we'll put them away and come back to it in a few days. So I'm gonna get the planer set up now, and we'll hit it again. Okay, that's got the tops down to the same thickness, and the sides are now the same thickness. And so now I need to just put these aside, lay them down good and flat, and give them a couple days to acclimate and warp and do whatever they're going to do. So we'll pick this back up in a couple days. All right, one more thing for the day before I stop on this project. I'm going to go ahead and rough cut a piece for the bottom, because I want to stain it black so that it's black on the underside. So I'm going to cut that now. Start spraying it. All right, that'll give me way more than I need. Okay, that really is the end for this project for today. I'm going to put this aside, get this mess cleaned up once again, and get on to the next thing. So we'll check back in a few days and see if I can get this thing put together. Okay, I got the top glued up. The book match did not come out exactly, but it's kind of book matched. So, like I say, first shot at this. I've said that 15 times so far. Probably going to say it a lot more. But there's the top. It's all glued up. And now I'm going to start on cutting the continuous grain wrap for the sides. The continuous grain for the sides, the way I have seen that you're supposed to pull that off, is you take a board and you resaw it long ways, and then the insides become the outsides of the box, so that this grain now matches this grain, so those two would go together and match. And then you cut the sides, will wrap around, and everything matches all the way around. So we're going to give that a shot and see what happens. Now, this is the board that I'm going to use for the sides of this humidor. We are total a little over 25 inches. So I need, out of each piece, I need a side and a back and a side and a front out of these two pieces. So I was thinking maybe 8.5 by 10.5 from what I've seen looking around on the internet. So if I get a side and a front out of that, that means I need 19 inches. I've got a little over 25, as I said. So I think we'll just go, now we'll stay with 8.5 by 10.5. That gives me plenty of room. I don't have to worry about using the ends of the board. I know you can't see it too well on the video, but there are some slight little cracks here that have developed. Actually, they were there already, but that will give me good square cuts to start with, and we'll go from there. That's true. Now, was about as nerve-wracking as it gets. But should have maybe that one goes there, that one goes there, and that one goes there. And that should be, hey, a box. Whew. I don't know. We'll look at gluing it up and see what happens. Need to sand the inside first. And might sand the outside just a little. Yeah. All right, let's do some sanding. All right, I don't want to take off too much here. So I'm starting with 220 grit. And just going to sand the insides and go from there. Alright, this is the bottom. This is how it turned out. Not too bad. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I'll put it on my big belly. There we go. Not bad. This will be the very bottom. Because it's a humidor, I have ordered some Spanish cedar to line it with. So I can't do anything more with the sides because I have to cut a groove, cut a dado for the bottom to fit in. I don't know the thickness yet until I get the Spanish cedar. It'll go on here, that'll give me my thickness. Then I can cut that dado and start this glue up process. And I can't cut the top down to its finished size until I do that so that I know what the finished size is. Let me get some water and I'm going to pop the grain on here and maybe we'll get a little better look at what it's going to look like with some finish on it. That is not bad. All right, we'll let that dry and that will raise the grain again. And then I can sand it some more. This doesn't really matter. It's all nice and flat and smooth. So like I say, this is the inside of the box and it'll all be lined with the cedar. So we'll let this dry. It'll curl the grain, sand it again, and that is the bottom of the lid. It will also have some cedar on it, so that doesn't matter much either. It's good to go there. Now we wait. All right, it's been a few days. Some things happened. I did a test fit for the sides of this box and was very unhappy with the results of the miters. I was using a miter gauge on the table saw, and I don't know if I was just heavy-handed and tweaked it as I was going through, but the cuts were not anywhere close to as square as they looked like they were. So I built a little mini crosscut sled and recut them. That means things are a little smaller than they were, smaller than I wanted them, but not bad, you know, 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. I got excited when everything looked good and put some glue on it. You know, cut the bottom, put the bottom in. I cut the top, put the top on it. It's still hanging over just a little, so I'm gonna have to get the trim router out and go around it to get it flush, and then I'm going to put a band of walnut around the top, around the edge, before I cut the lid off of it. So that's the next step, is to flush trim this with the router to get it one size all the way around so it's not hanging off. And then I will cut rabbets basically around the top to lay the walnut in. And I'm running out of time. Today is Tuesday, and this has to be done on Sunday. So here we go. Okay, as expected, tear up, but that's okay, because like I say, I'm going to cut a rabbet in here, and I'm going to lay a piece of walnut around the edge to hide some of the spots where things don't match up just perfect. So I'm gonna go find some walnut and be right back. All right, I went looking through the pile of stuff that I never throw away and found some walnut that is already basically the perfect thickness. It's a little too wide this way. I'm gonna have to trim it down, but I've got plenty now to inlay some walnut around the edges of this lid, and things will be looking good. So I'm going to cut this down and get this to the width that I need it, sand it up so I know exactly the thickness I've got to work with, and then I'll get some rabbets cut around the edges of this lid. Okay, that cut has established the depth of the rebate that's going to go in, so the walnut will fit down to there. So now I have to cut the other shoulder to establish the full rabbet. All right, that's got that. Now I need to trim this down to fit that height. Do some measuring, marking, cut some miters, and glue this up. All right, I got the walnut trim down. I'm not mad at it. This is a miter sled that I made for other Christmas presents that I'm working on, and it came in real handy for these corners. I'm telling you that for somebody like me, that's as close as it's going to get. They're pretty tight. So I'm going to get these glued on and it'll set up, and then tomorrow I can cut the top off and put the hinges on. And of course I got to do a lot of sanding before I do any of that, but we're getting closer. Way too much. Yeah, gonna let that set up for a little while, and about an hour or so, go work on some other stuff. That glue will be set up good enough. I can come back and put glue on the ends, and then that'll be it for today on this one. All right, once again, things have happened. As always, I got it out of clamps, got the tape all off of it, got it sanded down so everything is smooth and flat and perfect, and was ready to cut the lid off of it so I could put the hinges on it, put some finish on it, and be done with it. And then decided that it needed some splines to hold everything together. So I've gone through and I've cut spot for 2 splines in the bottom that'll be out of walnut to contrast with the cherry, and then 1 spline on each corner of the lid that will be out of cherry to contrast the walnut. So now I've got to cut these up, get those glued in, and today is Wednesday. Like I say, I've got to give this thing to him on Sunday I don't know if I've mentioned it yet or not, but the cedar that's going on the inside still hasn't even shipped. So I will be able to give it to him, but he can't take it home. I'll have to keep it here and wait for the cedar to show up and get the lining put in it. So I'm gonna cut some of these up and we'll get them glued in, and that'll be it for today. All right, well, that's got the splines cut and glued in. So that glue will have to set up overnight. Tomorrow I will flush cut those as close as I can with a little handsaw, a little flush cut saw, and then take a sander to them and get those sanded all flush so that they're just nice and perfect, as perfect as I can get them. Then I will cut the lid off. Then we can fit it for hinges. I can see if I want to do any fill work on any of these tiny little cracks. I'm not sure it's going to be worth it. Might just leave it, call it character. So that's it for today, and we'll start the finishing process tomorrow. Get some hinges on. All right, so next day I pull the tape off. The splines are in. The glue has set. So it is time to see if I can flush cut them without messing anything else up. It's a nasty rainy day today. Good day to be inside and sitting down and working on this box. Not bad, just gonna take a while. All right, that's got all the splines flush cut with a saw as best as I can. I gouged one of them, which not bad, I guess. Had a 24 cut, so I only messed up one. I think I can save that. Time to do some sanding. Got the splines all sanded down. Everything is down to 220, and I've got it sprayed again to pop the grain one more time. And we'll sand some more, and I'm not far from cutting the lid off this thing and actually making it a box that will open, and not just a box full of air. Stay tuned. All right, I got everything flush, sanded, filled, all the knots ready to go, and it now has a lid. So now I'm going to try to cut these hinges in so that they're nice and flush. So here we go.
Ow! La some things happened. Anytime I build anything, I have a plan. I know what I want to build. I know how I want to do it. And one of the biggest things that I struggle with is when something doesn't go exactly the way that I thought it was going to, or that I wanted it to. It throws me for a loop, and I stress over it, and this project is no different. I had some hinges, and I was going to inset them. I was going to carve down into the box and into the lid and flush mount the hinges. The hinges that I had were not made for that, but I thought I would do it anyway. It didn't work. The lid, I couldn't get it square. I couldn't get it to close right. And so I just stopped. I slept on it last night and realized that it's okay. Just use the hinges the way they're supposed to be used. Normally, no one would know any different anyway. This time, obviously, I'm recording everything. So, I took the hinges off and I moved them to the back and used them the way that these hinges are designed to be used. The only problem with that is that now, when you look on the inside of the box, you can see where I notched out to try to use the hinges incorrectly. I'm just going to leave it. I could route that out, glue a new piece in, flush it, do all the stuff, and it would be 99% good. If you knew what you were looking for, you could find it. This is character. That's what we're calling it. This is character. So there's some little spots there that you can see when you open the box. But when you close the box now, first of all, it closes. That was a little harsh. It closes nicely. It's good and solid. It's as flush as it's going to get. I mean, that's really close. There's just barely enough to hang a fingernail on. Cut your fingernails. I don't know. So, going to call it done here as far as assembly goes. I'll clean those little spots up just a little bit. I'm going to put one more coat of tung oil on it to get it to, it's still just a little dry. This wood was dry. I didn't think it was, but it's sucking up that tung oil pretty good. So I'm going to put another coat of tung oil on it. It'll set for about 10 minutes or so and then wipe off the excess, and then it will cure out. Today is Friday. It'll cure out between now and Sunday night when I give it to him. So that's where we're at. It's also funny that there's some other little cracks that appeared. I'm assuming they were always there, but I never could see them until I put the finish on it. So there's one tiny little hairline crack on the top that didn't get filled. That is more character. So I'm going to do some more finish and we'll wrap this thing up. All right, in keeping with the theme of doing things I've never done before, I'm going to finish this with some Bumbleshoot's tung oil that has been thinned out a little with some citrus solvent. If nothing else, this smells amazing. So, let's see what happens here. That's kind of nice. Oh yeah. Hope this is in frame. That smells amazing. Like honey and oranges. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Hey everybody. All right, Christmas has come and gone. It's actually New Year's Eve in my time right now. Look what showed up. I gave my son the humidor. He absolutely loved it. I explained that I still need to do some work on it. He said that's okay. So he left it for me to put the cedar on the inside, and the cedar showed up. So I'm gonna get this open and we'll take a look at it and go from there. All right, there it is. Man, it is nice. It's not free. There's a little sapwood here. Gives it a little more character. It smells amazing. Looks good, I'm telling you. These folks know what they're doing. It's already planed down. They're all the same thickness. It's all ready to go. So, it's here. It needs to be in here. So, I've seen this many times on YouTube. Ready? That's a bunch of... All right, all joking aside, it's not wide enough. The boards aren't wide enough by themselves to cover the bottom and the inside of the lid. So I've got a couple of them cut down so that when I cut them in half, they're still a little oversized. It's too wide, it's too long, but got a couple of them glued up into a panel. And tomorrow I'll come back and start cutting the pieces up and get them glued into the box. I got that panel glued up, got it out of clamps, got it trimmed down, got the liner put in the lid and the liner put in the bottom. Got those in and glued in yesterday. Today, I got the front and back pieces put in, glued in. They're in the clamps, they're gonna have to set overnight. Then tomorrow, I can put the end pieces in. Get those glued in. Have to do just a little bit of trimming around the edges to make everything nice. Get a tray put together. Once I get these in, I can take the measurements so I know the sizes for that. Get that built, get the lid back on it, and it'll be good to go. So we're gonna just keep on keeping on. I think I got it. The cedar is in the lid, it's in the bottom. I've got it in all four sides now. I got to get a chisel out and do some cleanup work to get it nice and pretty all the way around. Looks like I got a little glue right there. Again, there were some mistakes made. Some things I wasn't paying close enough attention on, but it's okay because it's getting really close to done. So let me get some things rearranged here, get some chisels out, and let's clean this up. Well, I think I'm done. I said earlier I was going to put a tray in it. I don't think it's deep enough. We'll see. But for now, it is right here. Well, as always, I had it right up to the end and decided to do something else. So I did go back and build the tray for it. It's close. If there's not enough room, you can just take the tray out and go that way. So now, here it is.